Yes, yes. You know, it says about a husband and a wife, when they act properly to each other, it says a shechina beinehem. The shechina is there. So, like, who's home? When a husband and wife act properly, the husband, the wife, and God is there. So then they're not alone. When they have God with them, so then they're in good shape. And that the problem is when people don't act properly to each other. I once went to a home, the husband and the wife weren't treating each other properly. So I told the couple that God is outside. He's not inside this house. He doesn't give proper supervision. Of course, God is all over, but the special hashgacha pratit and special blessing that comes along with the Shekhinah is not in such a home when the people are fighting with each other and acting inappropriately to each other. Okay, I said God is knocking on the door, but I'm saying he can't come into this house. He wants to come in. He can't come into the house when people are fighting. Okay, we are on Yud Aleph Amar Aleph, 11a. We're going to have a very interesting, I got it, a very interesting Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. We're about, in the wide lines, it's about 6 lines of the wide line. 11a. And in the art scroll, it's 11a4. It's on the right side. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. Okay, you got it, Jaime?
Yes.
Yehuda Amar Rav. Kilas chacham, if a chacham, afilu b'chinam hu ba'a, even if the curse does not have the merit, it's b'chinam, like for nothing, it wasn't earned, it will come to fruition, which seems to be the way we're explaining the Gemara a little differently what the Gemara said earlier. The Gemara, Shlomo HaMelech said that a killat chinam, a curse that has no weight to it, that has no substance, it was for nothing, it was not deserving, it will not come to fruition, Shlomo HaMelech said. And therefore the Gemara said the only reason why the mothers of the Kohen Gadol were worried about the Rotseach cursing their son, because that they're going to pray, that they're going to want their son to pass away, so in order they go out of exile, the only reason why there's a concern that that might come to fruition is because there is something wrong that the Kohen Gadol seems to have done by not praying properly, that no accidental, unintentional death should happen. So when there is a criticism on a person, that's when the curse could take hold. When a person did nothing wrong and somebody curses them, the Gemara said earlier, Shlomo HaMelech says that's nothing to be worried about.
But no one's a perfect person. Everybody has some vulnerability. It has to be for that specific issue that he didn't pray properly, or it could be any of his flaws.
Okay, so you're asking if you say no, ain't tzaddik ba'aretz asher yaseh tov v'lo yechta. So everybody has a perfect. So you're saying, of course, there's always what to take hold. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
There's never such thing as called as killers. It would seem that if a person curses someone for a specific, if a person curses someone, let's say for no reason, the guy did nothing wrong to him in any aspect. The fact that the person might have done something wrong in life, that might not, it would sound like from the Gemara that would not take effect. If a person curses someone for no reason, has nothing, there was never any interaction with the person, and just gives a person a curse, most probably it should not take effect. Only
so they don't have to be a perfect person. They don't have to have other vulnerabilities that would protect them.
Right, because you have to, or else, like you said, then there's no such thing as a curse that's chinam, that's for nothing. Everyone has something, no one's perfect. But I mean, a person curses somebody because someone did something, morning Jake. Someone did something wrong to somebody, so they cursed the person. That's called not chinam. There was a purpose why the curse came. But a person curses someone which is unwarranted. There was nothing that the guy did. I would say maybe that's called, if nothing, the guy didn't do anything warranted that this guy should be cursed. The fact that the guy might have done other things in life that has nothing to do, like you're saying, has nothing to do with that this curse should take effect. The curse that one person gives to another individual has power to take effect when one person did something to warrant to be cursed. Or the curse came as a result of someone acting inappropriately. But if someone just out of the blue gives somebody a curse and has not, that's the fact that the other guy might have, defects, whatever the right word, imperfection in his life, should not take a hold that curse. Because it's still at the end of the day, the curse came for nothing. The language of the Gemara is kilat chinam, a curse that came for no reason. There was no reason that preempted that curse. So I think that would answer your question, Jaime, because therefore, if someone else has some other issue, he's not perfect in some other place, and then someone curses him for nothing that has to do with that, it should not take effect.
What if a person has ayin hara on somebody because they have too much blessing? Is that a claim? Because they're too blessed by Hashem, it's almost unfair?
So that seems to have some effect, because he's looking on this person's specific blessing, and he's saying, well, he has that blessing, I don't have that blessing, I feel bad that he has that blessing. So then God says, then becomes sometimes a prosecution in heaven. Okay, someone is not happy with your blessing. Now, let's see, maybe
it opens the book, right? It opens the book.
It opens the book. So because someone's not happy with the guy's blessing, the book is going to open and say, is the guy still deserving of the blessing? Maybe he shouldn't get the blessing. Maybe the blessing should be taken away from him. So that seems to be because he's specific because of the blessing that the person had, that the person was upset with the blessing that the other guy has. That opens the book because of that specific focus. That seems to be the issue. That's why people are supposed to be very careful not to do things to knock out people's eyes. And listen, the people are wrong for having that inappropriate eye for people.
But it still doesn't help you, even if they're wrong.
Even if they're wrong, it doesn't help when a person shows off. Therefore, it's very important that people have to keep a low, not to show off. I've said, I don't know if I've said it over here, I said, if a person wants to do something in the house and they really don't make the outside of the house so pretty. Don't knock out everybody else when they come there. Everybody, I see that. If you want to redo the inside, okay, I'm not encouraging every year to redo your house either. But the point is, at least the people that come into your house, we hope those people have a better eye than everybody else. I can't guarantee that either. But that's obviously there's a better chance that those people will not have an ayin hara than the people outside that don't know you, that don't appreciate you. That's my personal recommendation to some people. But more in the inside than on the outside. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning. Okay. You were on Yud Aleph Amud Aleph, 11a. So the Gemara says, we're having a fascinating Gemara. It's part of the idea that we know in Parshas Devarim, Sefer, we're just now in V'etchanan, the idea of the power of a word, a power of a blessing is very powerful, but a power of a curse is also very powerful, because the mouth is very powerful. To us, a mouth is like a gun. It's like a gun. It's powerful. A mouth is not just, okay, it's only words. Like the culture of society that we live in, words don't mean much to the people. As long as the person, they don't care, your person can curse anybody they want, as long as they don't.
What's the connection to Etchanan? What's the connection to Etchanan?
It's more connected to the Sefer Dvarim. The Sefer that we're in today is Sefer Dvarim, right? Bereshit, Shemot, Vayikra, Bamidbar Dvarim.
Yes.
So this week, Dvarim is words. It means words.
Uh-huh.
And it's called words. And we have to. The lesson to the Jewish community needs to be the power of words. It's called words. We have to think about, right, Mike? The power of words. So many marriages are on the rocks because I'm sorry to say that people don't know how to talk to each other. They don't know the power of words, and they're ruining it for themselves. They're ruining it for their children because they don't know how to talk properly. And so here we're seeing the power of words that both we know in the positive, But here the Gemara is going to talk in the negative. And this is also, by the way, one of the reasons why the Torah says that a person shouldn't curse somebody is the Sefer Chinuch says, because if a person curses someone, it has power to hurt the person. So that's one of the reasons. One reason is you shouldn't curse someone, because when you curse somebody, you are actually, it's a bad midah. It's bad for you, right? It's not appropriate, nice for you to curse somebody, right? It's a aloneness on the person who's doing the curse. Am I correct, Jake? But there's another point that we're worried about. One thing is to worry about the person who was causing the curse, who was making the curse, reciting the curse. The other issue is to worry about the victim, who is the receiver of the curse, because we're concerned that that will have an effect and hurt the person. So there's two possibilities, perhaps, why a curse is bad, for the receiver and the giver. Mike, is that clear? And now the Gemara is talking about the curse of a chacham, even though we said earlier that the curse of a regular individual, where there's no reason for the curse, it has no power, but nevertheless, the curse of a chacham, if it comes from a chacham, from a Torah scholar, that has power. And it could be, perhaps the reason is, I could like to suggest, the concept, Tzaddik gozer v'Hashem mekayem. When a tzaddik says something, Hashem listens to it. So even if the item does not have meat to it, there was nothing the guy did wrong, that why you cursing the guy, it's not deserving of the curse based on, what did the guy do wrong that he should be deserving of the curse? But the fact that the scholar said the curse, and even if the scholar, the Gemara is going to say, even if the curse of the scholar was dependent on something, and that other thing, and it didn't come to fruition, that condition, like we're going to see from the Gemara now about David HaMelech is going to say that anybody who doesn't give me a certain answer will be cursed, even if a person gives the answer to the question. But the fact that the Chacham even said that the curse should happen, even though it's conditioned on something else, the fact that even if he said that the curse should possibly happen, that and it's to that person, we're going to see it would have an effect. Let's see what the Gemara says. How does the Gemara play this out? Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amarav. Kilat Chacham. We are on Yud Aleph Amar Aleph 11a, 11a4 on the right side. Even if it's bechinam, even if it seems to not have merit for the curse, the person wasn't deserving of the curse, it still takes hold. Minalan, where do we know from? Achitophel. The story of Achitophel was an advisor of David HaMelech. Achitophel was one of the rabbis of Avimelech. He was a rebbe of Avimelech. And the pasuk says, but at the end, what happened was, one named Mr. Betesh. At the end, Achitophel turned sour, and he joined Avshalom. When Avshalom, David's son, rebelled against David HaMelech, Achitophel joined his rebellion, and he reached a level that the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, Elu she'en lem chelek le'olam haba. He's one of the people that does not have a portion in the next world. He lost his fortune in the next world. The person has the ability, Kol Yisrael yesh lem chelek le'olam haba. Every Jew has a portion of olam haba, but the Gemara says ve'elu she'en lem chelek le'olam haba. A person has the ability to lose the portion of olam haba, Rachmana litzlan, by doing certain types of sins. Obviously, intentionally, they can lose. And Achitophel lost his chelek. You can be a rabbi, but you know what? If the Yetzer Hara gets to you and you go bad and you go sour, you can lose his portion of the Mabah. And that was the story of Achitophel. So what happened? Shekara David Shitin. When David was digging the foundation for the Beit HaMikdash, Kafa Tahoma. he hit the depths of the morning, Ariel. Good morning. Kafatomat, the depths of the world, the bottom, the waters that were from the bottom of the ground. It was coming up. It was coming to flood the world. Rashi says, because there was a certain piece of earthenware that was covering up the home. This was the spot that if you unplug this, then everything will overflow. And then David unplugged it, and as a result of that, the waters were coming up, and the waters were coming up, and it was almost flooding
You mean
the world.
Achitophel unplugged it, right?
David unplugged it. David unplugged it, and we're going to see where Achitophel comes into the story.
Okay.
David unplugged this stopper of the water on the bottom of and Rashi explains that even though this was before they owned the area of the Beit HaMikdash, they didn't own the property yet, but they already got permission. Sometimes they got permission to dig in the property. He already got permission from the owner to dig in this property. And Boilim Mishtefel Alma. The Tahom, we learn about the Tahom, let's say by the Mabul. We talk about the Tahom, the water on the bottom. So this water was going to flood the world. Omar David. So David says, Mahu lichtov Hashem achaspa. Are you allowed to write the name of Hashem on a piece of earthenware? Umishta b'tahoma, and to throw it down into the sea, into the tahom, the leka duchta, and it should go, and in order that the water should stop coming up and stop flooding the world. I would just suggest that the same way David took this, the Rashi explains that David had taken a cheres. He took a piece of earthenware, and that's what unplugged the thing. So maybe by writing the name of Hashem on this earthenware and throw it down, maybe this would come back and go right back on that spot and plug the hole. And the question is, can you write Hashem's name on this piece of earthenware to save the world? So the obvious question is, what is the question? If you can write Hashem's name. Yes, there is a prohibition in the Torah of erasing Hashem's name. You're not allowed to erase Hashem's name. But there is another, but Pekuach Nefesh to save the world, we know you're able to violate everything in the Torah except 3 sins. You're allowed to accept Gila Rayat. You can't go ahead and save your life. You can't sleep with a married woman in order to save your life. You can't kill someone to save your life. You can't worship Avodah Zarah to save your life, but everything else you could do. So here's the question of erasing the name of Hashem. And yes, it's one of the 613 mitzvot. You're not allowed to erase Hashem's name, but saving the world, Pekuach Nefesh, saving your own life, saving the world, saving your life should trump that prohibition of erasing Hashem's name. So I saw one of the answers to this question that's offered is that the way the Torah learns out the prohibition of erasing Hashem's name is from the pasuk that says, when it comes to Avodah Zarah, the Torah says, "Yibadatem eshmam." You got to erase the names of the Avodah Zarah, get rid of the Avodah Zarah, and the Torah says, do that, erase their names, get rid of them. Lo sasum kein laHashem Elokeichem. But don't do that to Hashem, your God. Don't erase God's name, right? That's the source for the prohibition of erasing Hashem's name. So being that it is included, it's learned out from the psukim that are dealing with Avodah Zarah. So is that part of things that are connected to Avodah Zarah? There's something called Abizrayu Avodah Zarah. There's something called things that are in the family connected to Avodah Zarah. It's not only the actual worshiping idols that a person has to be willing to give up their life to worship idols. Other things that are connected with the worship, we have to identify what those things are. But things that are also connected with the worshiping of the idols are also things that a person has to give up their life. So here, the question is since this prohibition of erasing Hashem's name connected with the contrast of Avodah Zarah, but Avodah Zarah, you have to get rid of Avodah Zarah. And maybe if you would erase Hashem's name, that's maybe, some say, is that called connected to Avodah Zarah? That's like a sign of, that's like part of the family of the same way you can't worship idols, you can't, when you erase God's name, you're also taking it's some sort of connection to some, as if you are removing God, so to speak. So maybe that you're moving, and therefore maybe it's connected to the family of idol worship. So maybe that mitzvah, would a person not be able to, you have to be able to be willing to give up your life. And if that's what Hashem wants, that's what Hashem wants, and that's it. So David wasn't sure. That's one approach. We have to see other approaches. Sheikh, I just found that approach over here. It's an interesting approach. Okay, so the Gemara says, Mr. Batesh, I learned with Jake when we prepare for the Gemara. So the Gemara says the following. So what happened? Leka the Amale Midi. Nobody was giving a response to David HaMelech's question. So Mike, you hear the question? The question is it allowed to erase Hashem's name? Because if I go ahead and I put Hashem's name on this earthenware and I put it into the ocean, what's going to happen is the name is going to be erased as a result of putting it into the water. And that's going to erase Hashem's name. Am I allowed to do that? Maybe I have to do something else. Maybe that's what David wants to know. Maybe David's saying, you know what? Maybe I got to come up with another plan. Maybe that's what David HaMelech was. Maybe David HaMelech was, I don't know, maybe we suggested to Jake perhaps a different approach. Of course he knows that Pikuach Nefesh, saving one's life, is much more important than that the Torah would say better to save one's life than it's more important to save a life than erasing Hashem's name. Of course you can erase Hashem's name. But maybe David wanted to know, maybe there's some other, maybe I rather, if technically there's some other, maybe I have to do something else. Maybe, is it warranted enough in this situation to write this? Meaning if there's no other alternative, maybe he knew definitely I could write this. Perhaps David HaMelech knew. But perhaps he's saying, but do I have to look for another alternative? Or maybe I could just do this perhaps right now. So okay, we have to think about it. So the Gemara said, Leked the Amale Midi. Nobody told David an answer. Ama. So David says, Kol hayodea David zeh ve'ino omro. Anybody who knows an answer to this question, and he does not give an answer to this question, yechanek bigrono. He should get strangled in his throat. He should get strangled if he doesn't give an answer to this question. And why did David say to get strangled? So the Tana de Eliyahu says something in a different area, something we could say over here. He says, some say that Achitofel held back. Maybe we'll just say the other answer. Since the Marsha says, since Achitofel knows if you know how to save the world from the Misad of Chenek, the world was faced with getting strangled. What will happen? The water will go ahead and kill everybody. How will everybody die? They can't breathe from strangulation. So therefore, David HaMelech, they're not going to die from the sword. They're going to die from the throat. So David HaMelech says, anybody doesn't say and you have the ability to save the world from strangulation, from dying, from lack of proper breathing, that person should die from strangulation. Like mida keneged mida. So that's the approach of the Marsha. So what did Nosa Achitofel Kavachoma Vatzmo? Achitofel found in Kavachoma. Oma. When it comes to making peace between a husband and a wife, Amra Torah. What did the Torah say to make peace between husband and wife? What happens is if a person violated the warning and he was alone with a married woman, the wife violated the warning and she was alone with another man. There were witnesses that she was alone. There were witnesses that she was alone with enough time that she could have actually slept with the man in the room, but we don't know what happened in the room. So once she violated the warning, she's forbidden to her husband. She can't be with her husband until she drinks the waters of the sotah. And once she drinks the waters of the sotah, if she's innocent, nothing will happen to her. She's guilty, she'll blow up. So, but one part of the process is they write Hashem's name on cloth, on parchment. They write psukim from the Torah, and they put it into the water, and she drinks the water. So God's name is erased when they put it on the parchment and they put it into the water. And the purpose of God's name is erased in order to bring her back to her husband. That's one of the reasons for it, that hopefully she's innocent and she'll be permitted to her husband. So the Kavachom was Shmi Shenichta B'Kedusha. So he says, to make peace between a husband and a wife. Amra Torah, the Torah says, Shmi Shenichta B'Kedusha. My name that's written B'Kedusha. Yimocha Alamoyim. The Torah says that God's name should be erased, and God's name, as Rashi points out, is mentioned many times in the psukim that I mentioned. Many times Hashem's name is erased, and that's only to bring back, make peace. For the whole world, definitely it should be permitted to go ahead and erase God's name. Amalei Sharei. Achitofel tells David it is permitted. So Kosav es Hashem achas. So David wrote the name of Hashem on this earthenware. Shadi atuma. He threw it down into the depths. And Nochat v'kamaduchte. And it went down, and the depths went back on its place, and it went calmed down, and all the water receded. Like we had a hurricane. We had something in our, or as a Hurricane Sandy or whatever we had. Remember, the waters was coming up, and then eventually they receded. It was like, but after a drive, it was amazing how the water just, it flooded all the way. It covered the whole FDR Drive, and then boom, the waters came back. It was like miraculous. And it's interesting, they point out, and that's what happened. All the waters went back down. The same way the waters went up, God brought the waters up, the waters went down. And the Gemara says in Sukkah that it went down, the waters went down too deep. Too deep. We need the waters a little bit more above the ground, and most probably to be available for people and to use the water. So what happened? David HaMelech said Shir HaMalot. He said the 15 Mizmorim of Shir HaMalot. Malot means to bring up. Shir HaMalot, and he said the 15 Mizmorim of Shir HaMalot, and it brought back the water to where it needed to be brought back. And that's the 15 Mizmorim of Shir HaMalot. Now, Shir of Malot, the Shir of bringing up the water to where it needed to be brought up to. Nevertheless, Afilu Hachi, even though we had such a story, Ksiv, it says about Achitofel, we have a story about Achitofel Ra'al Hilonases E Asato. Achitofel had given some advice to Avshalom, how Avshalom should deal with David HaMelech and how he could defeat David HaMelech. Avshalom did not follow his advice. He followed the advice of a different advisor. And when Achitofel saw that he followed the advice of a different advisor, Achitofel knew that Avshalom is going to lose the war, and therefore he went and he strangled himself. He killed himself. And he lost his Olam Haba, Achitofel. And the Gemara says, that's what he wanted. His advice wasn't followed. He saddled his donkey. He went to his house. He rode to his city. He gave last will. He gave some instruction to his family. What did he do right afterwards? A terrible tragedy. And he strangled himself.
It was the worst curse in what I would give the curse that pushes you to strength. Not that you lose a lot more. Even more severe than curse. If you want to make them out, you want to apply them. You know what I mean?
Right. You're right. Jake is pointing out David's curse when she gets strangled, but not as she strangled himself, which is even a higher level sin. Because if someone else strangles someone, the person, it's one type of punishment, but the guy person strangling himself is even a higher level punishment. So the Gemara is understanding that the curse of David had some effect on this. Now, again, you have to say that a person has bechira, a person has free will. Hashem, the fact that he strangled himself was his decision to strangle himself. But it's the Gemara seems to be saying that David's curse also helped towards his goal, towards the guy making the decision. At the end of the day, he made the decision, but sometimes you have help, like it says, in order to defeat the Yetzer Hara, you need help from God to do the right thing. Sometimes you have extra help to do things in life. Sometimes you have, sometimes it's easier for you to do the right thing. Hashem opens up the doors for you very easily, makes it easy for you. You don't have certain challenges. Sometimes you have faced with different challenges in life. And therefore, maybe perhaps that's, good morning. Welcome to the class.
Rabbi, this is my grandson, Chaim.
Chaim,
Hey, hi,
welcome
Jaime.
you to the, good morning, Chaim. You should always come to Torah classes. Okay, always learn Torah, okay?
Always learn
with your
Torah.
grandpa.
He wants to learn Torah with his grandpa.
I want to
Always learn with your grandpa.
Torah with my grandpa.
That's beautiful. You should always learn Torah with your grandpa. Remember, Mr. Patesh is here in the room as well. You have to make sure you have a mitzvah to learn Torah with not only your son, with your children, your grandchildren also. There's a special mitzvah in the Torah. You have to teach your children and your grandchildren Torah. So at the right time, when they become of age, you have a mitzvah to teach them Torah.
Say
And
thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you,
Look, and even if-
Rabbi.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming on. And even if the child is not living in your town, learn on the phone, learn on the computer with them. Make it happen. Have a great day, everybody. We should all be blessed. All blessings. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Rabbi. Have a
Rabbi.
great day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Yes. Thank you. Beautiful.
Oh, it's
Jaime.
me.
Have a lot of nachat.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you.
All the best. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Learn Torah with your grandpa.